Hey, this is what we called it. Last time we were here, we talked about QB franchise value, and now we're going to be talking about the best receiving core groups. So, Ken and I went through and ranked them all. Connor will be joining us later. He just a little bit busy right now, but we have all of our rankings, so you will see those throughout the show. I'm pulling them up now as we go through and defend our picks for who's the best, who's the worst, and why your team isn't as high as they should be. So, Ken, how are you doing?
Hey Phil, doing good. Starting to just, enjoy summer. Actually have a little bit of break from work, which is great. No break from the baby. Lots of crying. How are you doing with your baby?
I'm good. Still have to wake up every hour and a half and feed and change diapers, but it's kind of
So-
you kind of know what you're
Sounds
getting
great.
into.
It's the dream. Yep. Nailed it.
uh, all right, so Ken, why don't you want to give a general description of how you went through about ranking these? Obviously, this doesn't have to be a perfect but in general, what was the scheme and idea behind how you sorted these
Mhm.
guys?
So, two main things that I kind of thought about with these rankings. Number one, I was looking into it. I heard a little bit of a theory about targets and essentially RPO quarterbacks. And so, essentially, if quarterbacks run more, if most of their plays are read pass option, then they don't have essentially four receiving options out there. As they get the ball. First option, running back. Second option, quarterback. Third and fourth, boom, two pass catchers. Doesn't have to be receiver. But the point of that is as teams start to you know focus more on this RPO type of offense, they don't need four good passing options. They really need to have two. So teams that essentially run the ball more, have the running quarterback, I gave them more credit if they had higher end uh, receiving options between their first two. Did a little bit of that last year, but more so by accident, and didn't really put into account if they were a running quarterback. But certainly played that in. But also, uh, the other thing that I really looked at was to see if they have, all of their receiving options. So not just wide receiver, tight end, but if they have an elite pass catcher coming out of the backfield, such as a Christian McCaffrey, I certainly gave them a little bump up. So certainly maybe a little different than what Phil did. Certainly going to be different than what Connor says. I just can't wait for Connor to get in here in rankings. But
Connor's
uh,
gonna come in and scream, "Do you even know what route work running is?" As,
another.
as a 5'5" wide receiver in college, he had to be a technician.
Oh, I can't. I'm just curious to see how many times he says technician. Guys, let's keep a counter.
You don't know,
But
man. I can't wait for the. You don't know Debo Samuel's garbage. You don't know what you're talking about. Oh man.
but
So
uh,
when I went through
uh
this, I did a lot of um to make how many options do you have, and as you remove those, how good is your receiving core? So obviously everyone can see Cincinnati's my number one team. They were number one last year, I think, and it's because if you remove Jamar Chase, they still have a good receiving core. And then if you remove Jamar Chase and T Higgins, Tyler Boyd has been 1,000 yard number one 1,000 yard receiver on his own. So they just have a very very good depth. So I care a lot about that. So that you'll see when we get into it. But for example, the Rams, Cooper Cup's not there. We saw that thing fall off a cliff. So I am all about how if someone has to step up and start getting 8 targets and they were getting 3 previously, how much of an impact does that have on your team? So I love me depth, and then that sounded really piratey. Um, and then in terms of tiebreakers, I also looked at potential. So a big one's going to be if you have a young receiver. I gave them a bad grade, but I am willing to admit that I'm wrong there, and they have a big range of outcomes. So guys like Jordan Addison, Quentin Johnston, JSN. So there's a lot more upside to them than guys that are like, hey, Sky Moore. We saw what he did a little bit last year, maybe lowering that high end expectation. So with that said, we will get started.
well, that
We'll
was
just go
incredible,
through.
Phil.
Huh?
because you said the exact opposite thing that I did. So,
I know.
uh,
Well, so you took into account scheme, which is nice, but I tried to make it like immutable, where it was if I picked up this receiving core and put them in a different system. However, there's a lot of players where you can't do that, and that's another thing Connor would yell at us for, which I can't wait for him to come on. So, let's get started. We'll go through my tiers. So the tiering system is based on my rankings. I'll add that in actually right now. Ken did his completely independently. So with that, we have Cincinnati, Philly, and San Francisco. I think this is a very good capture of what happened last year. I mean, no one's going to question San Fran had the worst quarterback situation of most teams. They were legitimately starting their third string quarterback and looked absolutely better with him and flawless because of the talent. Philly was phenomenal. They have a depth of options. And then obviously I already went through everything at Cincinnati. So Ken, how do you feel? You have these guys 1, 2, 4. So obviously not too much different in opinion.
so the big one, I really, really struggled and wanted to put San Fran one. I even was debating doing a 1A, 1B with Cincinnati, San Fran. But just first off, starting with Cincy, we talked about it last year. It's like, I don't know if T. Higgins, what he looks like without Jamar Chase. Like, does he look that elite? And, you know, Jamar Chase, he had that funky hip injury last year, and T. Higgins was like, doesn't matter. Since he was still going on a tear, they had a great record when Jamar Chase was out, and T. Higgins just completely stepped up. He certainly put himself because I was like, oh, is he borderline elite? Is he elite? Guess what? That conversation's over. T. Higgins, welcome to elite neighborhood. I love you, T.
Yeah, so
Higgins.
before you continue, I just want to say I think it was the Pittsburgh game that did that for me last year. Because that was Boyd was out, Chase was out, and I think Mixon was out. And T. Higgins, against one of the top defenses in the league, carried the Cincinnati offense to a 30-point game. And, it's like one of the only games the Steelers lost with TJ Watt. So just,
Mhm.
patting T.
And
Higgins on the back again. I wish we could just be called the T. Higgins support show.
now,
No,
I
no,
do
the
want to
people
say,
from Detroit would be upset with us because they would say, "Well, you're switching teams, and Detroit's our team." We've already said that.
hey, Connor, I will tell you that the people in Detroit are going to be mad, but that'll be later on in the show. But I don't want to take anything away from what Jamar Chase does. Jamar Chase is just that next level talent. I mean, I think he's going to be right up there with Justin Jefferson, Cooper Kupp at the end of this year. Just saying, like, he's closer to generational talent than he is the rest of the group. So, uh, big fan of them. But for San Fran, the reason why I wanted to put them up, yes, Ayuk on the outside certainly stepped it up last year. George Kittle is the best playmaker at tight end. Can't stay healthy, but that's just the way he plays football. But like I was saying, Christian McCaffrey might lead their team in targets and receptions this year, and he is an absolutely elite player coming out of the backfield. Their team didn't look bad until they were down to their fifth option in the middle of the NFC Championship game last year. And by the way, fifth option is Brock Purdy with a torn UCL. So, I mean, they really just, yes, Brock Purdy, we talked about him last year or last episode. He's good. He did, but this offense is just so dangerous receiving. A lot of people can do good there. So, um, I'd rather take the two elite receivers on the outside than an elite tight end and these crazy playmakers with like Debo, Christian McCaffrey. But it was really close. So 1A, 1B situation for me.
All right. So just to let people know, I did a little editing on the ordering and formatting. So sorry if you were watching and saw that. Connor, how do you feel about my tier one, Cincinnati, Philly, San Fran? I don't think we've talked about Philly too much. If you have some takes there.
I think it's Cincinnati 1, Philly 2. Uh, I think toss up probably. Well, we don't know what we're getting with. So Dolphins 3. We don't know what we're getting with Vikings at 4. because I'm higher on Jordan Addison than a lot of people. I think he is potentially. I think he's got the highest floor.
Connor, you
out
looking at
of
the right
even-
depth chart there?
Am I?
Or-
Oh shoot, I'm on 20. I'm on 22, fellas. Anyways,
So
it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
we'll get to Minnesota in a second.
That was
1,
all
2,
based
3.
off. That was all based off memory. So that was great. I would say nothing changes. I still think it's Cincy 1, Philly 2. 3 is the Dolphins. 4.
Just look, we're gonna go through my rankings and then we'll let you criticize them. Okay, that's the way we'll handle it.
Your
Your
rankings are
column's
dumb.
hidden because you
Your
didn't have time to
rankings
fill
are
it out.
dumb. Your rankings suck.
You hate San
because-
Fran, don't you? Because of Deebo
Because
Samuel.
it's crazy because you have I get the fact that Deebo is Deebo, but he is an athlete. We've been over this plenty of times. We're including him in the wide receiver room purely based off of what they have him named. I don't see him as a wide receiver, and purely based off of wide receiver, he is great. He's not anywhere near elite, and I say that I know Ken's probably gonna poop his pants, but I get it. We're talking about impact and athlete and great football player, Deebo. I get it.
So you say great football player. They have great football player Deebo, great football player CMC, Brandon Ayuk, and great football player George Kittle. Ayuk is a really, really good player, though.
Oh, I think Ayuk is underrated. Ayuk, by the way, I'm picking him up in every fantasy league I can get because his efficiency was off the charts last year. I know that's a fantasy thing, but
I mean, he's always been 8 or 9 yards a target, easy.
Yeah, his ADOT is great. His efficiency is great, but that tells you how good of a wide receiver is. That means in his limited action, he had 1,000 yards last year, and that means he is getting open. Means they're hitting him in the hands, and he's making stuff happen. He's my breakout candidate this year for.
So with 4
stuff.
great receiving options, how can you not have them top 5?
Okay, no, I got them at 4. I
okay,
have
that's
them
fine
at 4.
then. Then don't say mine are so stupid and terrible if you have them one
I
spot
have them
lower.
I have them at 4. But they do not have an alpha 1. Okay, they do not have Jamar Chase, AJ Brown, Tyreek Hill, Devontae Adams.
Correct.
They don't have one.
I agree.
So
But they
absolutely.
have the best depth.
I would say, yeah, by far they have that. They are by committee a totally even threats everywhere offense. If you look at the other guys that everyone considers elite, you have 2 potentially mostly 2 what you would consider top 12 receivers. That's period from everyone, and then that's the reason that. Since he puts you over the top is because you have somebody who would be a 2 if he went anywhere other than Cincinnati. Look at the
1,
threes. Look at the threes.
Oh, you meant Boyd. Okay.
I mean, it falls off after 3 or after the number 2. So you just purely by top 12, top 1 or 2 in Chase, that catapults you above everyone, and then you have probably a top 30 guy in Boyd, and Irv Smith is a wild card. Super athlete. Think OJ Howard. Maybe he blows up. Maybe he doesn't.
He is a wonderful Hayden Hurst replacement. I think that's a really underrated move.
Yeah.
Connor, I got one question for you. Last time we were on, you were hating on Brock Purdy. Yet Brock Purdy ran through the NFC till you see
he's above average.
Oh, Brock Purdy's above average?
He is.
Okay. So is it the receivers or is it Brock Purdy? Because you had him at I don't even know how low you had him last time.
It's a system. The rumors right now are that Sam
Darnold.
Ghost Darnold is about to be the number 2 and potentially start if Brock Purdy's not available. Which tells you everything you need to know about Trey Lance, but it also tells you everything you need to know about Kyle Shanahan's offense. Listen.
It tells me Kyle Shanahan doesn't want to tell people how good Trey Lance is. He's putting out. That's what I got.
Dude, please tell me you're not a Trey Lance truther. Please, God, tell me you're not.
Oh,
No.
Connor, I can't wait to clip you saying Trey Lance has 3 first-round picks in him 2 weeks ago, and he's going to
Wow.
Did I say that?
Yes,
Did I
you
say
did.
that? God, I've changed.
Follow the draft capital,
Oh.
guys. Follow the
Oh.
draft capital.
This is all Kyle Shanahan's too smart. Brock
I'm
Purdy
not gonna
shouldn't
lie to you.
start.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't remember saying that, but over the last month, I have had I've had an epiphany because everything is coming out that Trey Lance it may be third on the depth chart, and I usually try not to buy into that, but man, I think
You
it's
know what
starting to
people
say-
don't lie about? Who's third on the depth chart? You know?
I don't remember saying that at all. I thought I was I understand that Brock Purdy is average, and I think that Trey Lance is a super athlete, but like I'm worried now. I'm officially worried about Trey Lance now.
Well,
I'll be
they
honest.
tried to trade him and couldn't find a suitor.
That's
so just know
that's
that.
so I didn't know that. They came out with the story. It might have hit before we had our last
It's a
one.
story,
but I must
man.
not have
It
heard
was right
news.
after we hit.
That
did.
but they
fake
attempted to
news.
trade him, and I was like, all right, maybe I'm too much into the whole draft capital.
I'm
thing
so happy.
because-
Usually I have to, watch our show and find clips that are good. Now I already have one marked. We're
Listen,
good. I know
all
exactly.
I'm saying though is think about historically. This is like you're a statistical boy.
Mhm.
This is like statistical outlier for
This
how
is-
much sinking a draft capital means, and that how much of an outlier this would be if Trey
This
Lance
is
case was
legitimately like, if you draft like Trevor Lawrence and then you're like, oh no, I have to start Mr. Irrelevant instead.
I'm serious. This could go down as one of the worst NFL draft day moves ever. If they
Hey,
do,
you know what? They
if-
got a starting quarterback out of it though. Just think of it like that. All right.
I gotta tell you,
That's
though,
enough.
look at how many draft picks have been traded for Carson Wentz in his career. It's a
yeah,
lot.
that's fair.
Yeah.
That's a bad one too.
And they still can't find someone to trade Trey Lance for Trey Lance. All right, Connor, I opened up your column. If you want to fill this out as we go, don't worry about it. As long as just fill it in, and I'll post it.
Oh, I
at
told
the
you.
end.
So you already got my top four. One
Yep.
Cincy, two Philly,
Well,
three
you
Miami.
type it in. You have a computer.
Yeah,
Type
but
the numbers.
I don't want to do that. I just
Okay.
don't.
All right, next up, we're gonna go with my tier 2. Obviously, Miami and Seattle. This is like, I think last year I labeled these teams as I'm sorry about your quarterback, and I stand by that still because Tyreek Hill was doing like 50-yard curls last year because Tua couldn't hit him for touchdowns over the top. But these guys both phenomenal. I have Miami ahead of Seattle because of the explosiveness of Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. Yes, DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett are explosive, but they don't also have the underneath complementary game. They can't each get 12 targets and look phenomenal doing it. Hill and Waddle are just so good. They can do both. I don't have Waddle as an A+ because we haven't seen him dominate by himself. However, complimenting Tyreek Hill, it just makes life so easy. So JSN is the wild card here. If he comes out and is explosive, I think Seattle could easily jump to neck and neck with like Cincinnati for top of the receiving core. However, Geno Smith limits them, so we won't actually be able to move him up that far. Ken, what do you think?
So I had Seattle a little higher just because say it every year. Tyler Lockett, he's fast. He can lose a step, but he keeps showing up. But I think that DK and Smith Najigba can. If they jumped into this like elite category next year, it wouldn't surprise me whatsoever. I really like. Just the fact that they have 3 of them. Even if Tyler Lockett loses a step, DK and Smith Najigba are definitely still. So, great options. Not a great quarterback. I'm really interested to see what Seattle does because they had so many weapons there. They got the new running back. Kenneth Walker's still there. Geno Smith has everything he needs. Let's just see how far they can take it there. Waddle, he's my the other one where it's like if he jumps into elite category, won't surprise me whatsoever. Certainly can. But that Dolphins offense just looks so good. Tua was like firing, and Tyreek and Waddle were just outrunning everybody. Yeah, we could be talking about 2A pluses there next year.
Connor, what are your thoughts? You have these guys, we all have these guys similar rankings. Like when we were talking the top of the list.
Yeah, I can't believe you guys are so. I cannot believe you guys are so low on Jacksonville. How could you not look at them and be like, man, that is a sneaky deep. I'm talking. I have them at my 5.
The funny thing is, I had them at 6 and I flipped them, and the only reason is because I don't think Calvin Ridley will.
Who was the biggest Christian Kirk truther here on this show last year? This guy.
Was you. I was the number one Calvin Ridley truther, having him lead the league in receiving yards. But listen,
I also don't believe that Christian Kirk becomes fantasy irrelevant either. I think if anything, he actually is going to be the North Star, and I think Zay Jones is out. But Zay Jones is a fantastic.
All right, let me ask you this though. What would you rather have? 8 targets to Calvin Ridley, 9 targets to Christian Kirk. That's one. The other option is 17 targets to Justin Jefferson or 17 targets to Devontae Adams. I would rather throw the ball to those guys 17 times than split targets amongst those two. And that's why that is the only reason why they're ahead. But it's close. It's neck and neck. I am not saying it's
fine. Okay, fine. Okay, got it. I'm looking at it from top to bottom.
That's fair.
Best core. I'm not looking at it from catapulting one guy all the way up above. Otherwise,
I didn't do that often, but for those 2 guys, I did it because their offenses are legitimately built that way.
And you have an elite quarterback tied to them. So,
yep.
Except
for Jimmy G, Raiders.
Yeah, sorry, I meant to Jackson.
Oh, gotcha.
But here's my point. I think you're gonna see fantasy relevance. This is gonna be San Francisco 2.0 this year, because I think you'll see, but with more of a focus on the big 3, Kirk, Ridley, and Evan Ingram. And then you'll have Zay Jones. Zay Jones is going to be like Ayuk. I think he's going to be super efficient. I think Calvin Ridley and Christian Kirk are going to dominate the targets. And then Evan Ingram is going to be super efficient because he was pretty efficient last year too.
Well, him and Zay Jones had some great games based on scheme, thanks to Doug Peterson. So
right, and I think that's what they're going to do. This is going to be San Francisco this year.
All right. So before we keep going. Last year, you and I were super high on Hunter Renfrow in the year. He didn't do anything because I was going to say Josh McDaniels, the slot wide receiver whisperer. I don't know what happened. So we are.
Then he went out and paid for another slot, which is stupid.
So I was going to say I have them high because of Devontae Adams, but I don't know how I feel about what they did with the double slot move. And as the slot receiver here, I just want to get your take on that.
No, I think it's dumb. They cannibalize each other. You got to have, you would be better off having a true, burner, somebody like a Van Jefferson to go there and be on the outside than you would have gotten a better elite slot receiver like Jacoby Myers. That's my opinion. You have guys that have the same route tree, and you don't really have. And when we say when people talk about route trees, we're talking about okay, your route tree, if you're not being pressed, you have a mismatch, you're going on a slot, a nickel, corner, or a linebacker, is way different than somebody who says, hey, I got Trayvon Diggs on me the whole time. So that means he's going to be pressed up in me, which means my route tree means if I beat the press, my route might be go. You don't really have that with slots. Jacoby and them, they don't have a guy to take off the top. Jacoby and them are going to be beat your guy and then stick him at the top and run an over. The only one guy
go get 8 or 9 yards, not 15.
The one guy that straddles this is Cooper Kupp. He's the only guy that straddles this line and can do both. And I would say at the elite level. And he doesn't really do the deep goes. He does the deep overs, but he doesn't have Mike Williams. I guarantee you, and we had this play. We had this in college. You have some guy on the outside who was not me, clearly, was, hey, listen, we're going to run a post here, but if he presses you and you get off of it, go. Period. Like, you're off. It changes from a post to there in cover 3. He's clearly passing. Just go. Don't go run a post into the safety. That's very stupid. They have that in the NFL.
Don't beat your guy just and then run into someone else.
Yes.
All right. So Ken, do you have anything else on the Raiders, Minnesota, Jacksonville? If not, we can go on to the next tier, which I think is the super debatable one.
So just real quick, this is where I mean, if you took Devontae Adams or Justin Jefferson off of those two, you're talking like, bottom third, around 30 rating, but you just got to give it to these elite receivers. Devontae Adams, Justin Jefferson, they're there till they're not. Calvin Ridley, the only thing is, like, sure, believe in him in fantasy. I kind of like that sort of lottery ticket. He hasn't done much in 2 years. He's never done anything without Julio Jones, elite Julio Jones across from him. Not saying he's bad. I do think he's going to do good, but I just can't put someone that high till they show it. I have a 2-year rule after watching Deshaun Watson play football last year.
Gotcha. All right, so let's go on then. Looks like we're going to have a bit of fighting words here. So let's start with why you have Detroit at 11.
You're nuts. I'm just going to tell you right now, you are insane. And I'm a sun god truther.
Wait, which one? Are you saying that
Detroit
I'm nuts?
11, or is that supposed to be 21? Is that a typo by you?
That is absolutely 11.
It better be a typo.
So what's going on there? Why should Detroit be in the same category with guys like Terry McLaurin, CeeDee Lamb, Keenan Allen?
So what? Oh man, yeah, probably shouldn't have been above the Chargers there, but
Oops.
He's not. You have him at 9. You have them at 9. You're fine.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Amon-Ra St. Brown. What do you have against him? He is gonna be the next one we talk. I think that he's gonna end top 5 wide receiver fantasy.
I have nothing against him. I have everything against the other people that line up with him.
Besides the fact that that receiver room is really bad at location gambling, they're still really good. I mean, Jameson Williams, I know he didn't do much last year, but he's coming off the classic second year off the ACL, and he's
suspended for 6 games
of 21. Doesn't matter. He's on this list, and I would rather have Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jameson Williams, and Marvin Jones, but also I give a lot of credit to receiving running backs here. And you guys just hate the Lions. We've already proven that, right?
Stupid take.
But no, I'm giving a lot of credit to receiving running backs. I mean, the offense or the receiving offense looked pretty good last year. I'm just expecting another step forward. I think James Williams will step forward. I think Amon-Ra St. Brown will step forward. I think that Jahmyr Gibbs will do what you expect him to. I don't know what you guys don't like about it so much.
Connor, do you want to yell at him?
Wait, so time out. It wasn't a typo. You really do have them at 11.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. All right. The only thing, dude, what are you doing? Listen, like, I am up there.
What?
I am
all
up
the
there
way to 21.
I am up there that Supreme, the Sun God, is up there as he could be for 10 years the next Cooper Kupp. 150 targets, super efficient. Like, I'm with you. He won't be ever as good, in my opinion, because I don't think he is as elite of a route runner that you can shape your entire offense around him. But I don't think that what's his face will actually do that. I don't think our favorite, the Fighting Dan Campbell or whatever the heck that young coordinator is going to do. I don't think he's going to do that. Anyways, but Jameson Williams has like 6 total catches in his entire career. He's going to be rusty. They've got a mid-30s guy who's going to fill in for him for the first 6 games. And then you have, I don't know, some guy who looks like me out there playing as your whatever, Dan something, whatever, something super stupid, easy name to remember that I remember going, man, I wonder where that guy's from. He sounds like a guy like I went to high school with, and playing the fourth slot, and then you have I don't even know who the other the only thing here that is Laporta. Laporta I think is going to be good. He's a rookie. He'll be good. But like I am shocked that you're putting that much in based off of you just ripped me for draft capital. You're basing this totally off Jameson Williams being an ex-OSU Buckeye / Bama beast to blown out ACL to degenerate gambler to catching 6 passes, all because he was drafted like in the top 12, which by the way, he was after 2 other Ohio State wide receivers. He wasn't even the first one drafted in that
You're
round.
the one talking about Ohio State wide receivers here. I'm not comparing them to these other guys. Don't worry, we'll get there. I like those guys too.
11,
But
11.
you guys do not so Jahmyr Gibbs, Jameson Williams, Amon-Ra St. Brown. It's a young core.
What are we ranking right now? Are we ranking the whole offense? If we're doing that, we're gonna change these rankings up, Ken.
You missed
he
it.
included running backs.
We already discussed this. You missed that. I'm doing their receiving offense. That's what I'm doing.
Any pass catchers, period.
No, pass catchers, period.
Yeah. Ken, that is an asterisk that nobody told me about, and it would change my view on some of these things.
Okay, well, grade it however you want, honestly, because I personally
I'm grading
am
it how it's technically supposed to be.
That's right. The way Phil made up the rules and established them.
It's technicians.
Listen,
and
that's
then
fine.
everyone else.
You know what? Next time we do something, we're just going to make up the rules as we go, and we're going to change the rules and say, hey, whatever it is, it's whatever you think, man. Listen.
Now let's just go through these teams.
Listen, it's supposed to be 65 on the highway, but if you feel like going 100, listen, it's whatever rules you want, man.
Okay, so let's just go through some of these teams Ken has Detroit ahead of. So first of all, my number 9 team, the Dallas Cowboys, who Brandon Cooks has been like, I know he's played hot potato on every team he's been on, but everywhere he goes, he's actually successful. Even in Houston, he was a legitimate receiving threat for one of the worst teams in the NFL. CeeDee Lamb was a legit number 1 last year, even though
full disclosure, I did not think that would happen, but I was wrong on that one.
Well, the thing is, I think you were right where he can't be a number 1 on an elite offense. He can't be a, Devontae Adams. However, he was a great number 1 for a good offense. And now they still have Michael Gallup, who's recovering. I don't care about Jake Ferguson. I'm not going to lie. So that's one team. A team with 3 legitimate receiving options against Detroit, who is like 1.5 whenever Jameson Williams returns. And also, you're trashing the Commanders, man. Like, Terry McLaurin is, in my opinion, better than Amon-Ra St. Brown. He just has had quarterback play that's been like a million times worse.
Another guy that's like hyper efficient that does more with less. Jahan Dotson had a pretty good statistically.
Jahan Dotson was awesome in his few his flashes. Right, he had some great plays. Curtis Samuel's good. They have Denami Brown as a legitimate deep threat, and Logan Thomas is a good tight end. That's 5 good receiving options, not counting Antonio Gibson. Ken, how are you neglecting these guys?
Phil, how many years do you have to say Terry McLaurin is good except this? Oh, Terry McLaurin is good except you can't get a quarterback.
This is the last one because Sam Howell. Sam Howell is starting now.
He had 1,000 yards in every year he's been in the league so far.
So I really like Terry McLaurin and Jahan Dotson. I saw a huge step off afterwards. Curtis Samuel gadget experience, I don't enjoy. Logan Thomas, even when even after he was able to stay on the field after all the injuries, they're very average. I like the first 2. Now, earlier, Connor, I said that.
Do you have Amon-Ra St. Brown that much higher than Terry McLaurin, though, or CeeDee Lamb? Are you saying he's an A+ receiver?
I actually don't have him ahead of CeeDee Lamb. Yeah, Cowboys are a little lower than should be. I don't like having a new receiver and just seeing how they're doing. Hopefully that works out. I'm not a huge fan of Gallup. That's where that one falls off.
That's fair.
But no, I do. The Amon-Ra St. Brown ahead of Terry McLaurin is something that I wanted to at least emphasize in this
I'll
situation.
take that, but it ain't that crazy different.
It's not. I don't
think it's right. I don't think it's the difference between like
Also,
we're tiers of like Terry McLaurin. I don't call him elite, but I call him what you would call T Higgins last year, which is like right below.
Prove
Ayuk
it to me.
Ayuk is borderline elite, same kind of in the tier as Terry McLaurin. St. Brown is just into that elite tier for me.
and that's
So
kind of my cutoff. Is I was giving a lot of credit to people I think are elite, and actually, unfortunately, I put CD Lamb in that category too. Like I said, I have the Cowboys maybe a little lower than they should, but now when I say elite,
still
I'm talking these are bottom barrel elite. These guys we're talking about here. There's no Devontae Adams. There's no Justin Jefferson that automatically get this top 7 despite anyone else they're with. I also just I'm not putting any credit towards the first 6 games with Jameson Williams off. I'm just not. Like,
okay.
this isn't about records.
I guess
this
that's
isn't about
true.
the
I
first
guess I'm
6
not yelling
games.
at you for fantasy rankings. I'm yelling at you for true wide receiving core rankings. But just want to be clear, in the one game with Sam Howell last year when he only threw 19 passes because they weren't sure about him, 3 catches, 74 yards, and a touchdown, and a dominant win over Dallas, in case people forgot.
Listen, just if you're wondering, Phil is forever going to know every stat from that game ever for the rest of his life. He's probably going to know
that game legitimately got me a new bathroom.
Yeah, he's going to know exactly where he is, where he was at the time. Do you guys remember the time that the Washington Commanders covered the spread and won outright? Do you guys remember that? Where were you? I don't care. So
no one knows. I don't know where I was. Some random week in the second week in January.
What was the meaning of it? The Cowboys went from like the 3 seed to the 6 seed, and the Commanders found out they might like Sam Howell.
No. What it meant was a new bathroom. Just always remember that.
Guys, the hot take from this isn't me liking the Detroit Lions. It's Phil loving the not Redskins.
Oh, my hot take, because Connor agrees. I was about to say, Connor, with Dallas and Washington, you have them 11 and 12. Anything you want to say on them?
Phil,
because I feel
Phil,
like we're
from
gonna
a guy
have
who
more
absolutely hates the Cowboys, what are you backing them so much?
Oh, I don't hate the Cowboys. They just like Dak Prescott fails in big moments. Mike McCarthy fails in big moments. They're just a team that will always be good and then lose in the second round of the playoffs. Like they're the Atlanta Hawks when LeBron was in the East. It's like, no, I don't care if you win 60 games. You're going to get swept in the playoffs.
Like, all right, so I actually think that Dallas is closer to, like, I don't know, maybe a Las Vegas in terms of, like, their depth, only because I am higher on Gallup than you guys are. I like Gallup. I think he got a bad rap last year because he was really bad when he came back, but just looking at like historically just ACLs and messing with wide receivers' heads, like the year before, he was an unbelievable 3. Like, so I'm basing that off of 2 years ago, and then I'm a big Cooks truther.
So I believe I have them priced at their floor at grade Bs. Like I could see either of them being an easy B plus.
Yeah, I could see them jumping into if KJ Osborne sucks and Las Vegas, Hunter Renfrow falls off the face of the earth, they could flip spots for me in those places.
All right, so now let's go Chargers and Tampa Bay. So these are interesting ones. Ken, when we talked post draft, you loved Quentin Johnston. I have him at a C plus. I am just hyper aggressive on being harsh to rookies. But then Mike Evans, Keenan Allen, Chris Godwin. These guys, they're all older. They're all proven. They're good, they're really good, not great. So I think these are just nice receiving cores. And I'd be super happy to have any of them, despite me ranking them 11 and 12. I have no problem, and I'm happy with these guys.
Yeah, I probably should have had the Chargers a little higher. Once again, going back to this running back thing and Austin Eckler. And,
higher, you have them at 9. That's a good ranking.
I should have them even higher. Yep.
I
love Keenan Allen. Mike
I'm
Williams,
a huge truther for Keenan Allen.
Yeah. But Mike Williams, even without the rookie, I mean, just keep Mike Williams healthy. And you're talking, elite passer options, and I really hope that Kellen Moore can get Herbert cooking and just let him rip with all these options. I mean, this is one that we're, next year we can be saying, oh, they're underrated. Yeah, Keenan Allen, he might lose a step. He doesn't need that step. That's not what he does. He's not a burner. But just great route runner. I'm all in on the Chargers.
Connor, anything to add?
No, I think that I think LA Chargers, they're my 9. They're the first one in this tier. Easily could be above the next tier even. They could easily jump in because I'm a huge Keenan Allen guy. Mike Williams, the wild card is I just cannot see him staying healthy. I'm a big I think Quentin Johnston. Is he Kevin White? I don't know. Maybe. If you don't know who Kevin White is, just Google him. Is he Brashad Perriman? If you don't know that one, Google him too. Just big guys that were freak athletes, and then you look at them and they just totally sucked. And they had the same kind of problems coming out, question marks coming out, and then but same question marks could have been said for DK Metcalf too. So there's your ceiling and there's your floor. So I have a tough time. It doesn't matter how tied to an elite quarterback you are. I think Kevin White had Jay Cutler, gunslinger. So that didn't work
But
out.
what about being in the situation where he's like realistically the 4th option if everybody's healthy? Certainly takes a ton of pressure.
I'm totally betting on Mike Williams getting hurt. Mike Williams didn't even suit up for this year because they said he's still in rehab for his back problems. I think that they are
you serious?
Highly worried. God. He didn't even suit up this year for
back problems or back and neck. Those are the two things you don't mess with.
He from his back problems from last year. So because he spasmed up, if you remember, late in the year last year, he had back spasms. They're trying to figure out why, what's wrong with his back. And he just locked up. So he could be huge because Kellen Moore has one of the deepest downfield offenses in the NFL. And they talk about that, how he pushes the ball downfield. He's not doing the Sean McVay sort of run and shoot type of June Jones offense.
All right. So now I will say Tampa Bay, people are going to grade them, I'm sure, much harsher at the end of the year because Baker Mayfield's their quarterback. But just remember, these are good receivers. And I'm sorry that Baker Mayfield ruined their careers. Now, these next groups, I feel like we can just probably rotate one by one because this is a highly controversial group for tiers 5 and 6. I could see us ranking these in all sorts of ways. The first one I'm going to take is Pittsburgh, and I'm going to say I think I love this core probably more than most people. This is one of the deepest, best cores, most talent I've seen. They have Deontay Johnson, George Pickens, Allen Robinson, Pat Freiermuth. Those are all guys that I could see having 5 catches, 80 yards, touchdown games. So at any point. So I could see them jumping up. However, their quarterback situation and offensive scheme is not going to play to their strengths. And that, when we're talking tiebreakers, that pulls them back. So that's my take on Pittsburgh. If you guys want to add anything, then pick up another team. Go ahead.
So my thing with Pittsburgh is you just named off a bunch of good options. None of those guys are going to be in this. Oh, are they going to jump into elite category? George Pickens, maybe, but not in the situation with the quarterback. That's why I have him behind some people in this group. The big ones I'm higher on here. Once again, sticking with elite. Cooper Kupp and Stephon Diggs. You ask their quarterbacks. Those are their first, second, and third picks on their team, man. Cooper Kupp has no one else in his group. Tyler Higbee is probably the second best option. Maybe Tutu Atwell, maybe Van Jefferson have a breakout. They do it because Cooper Kupp is the focus on that team, and he will still get his. I think, you got to give him credit for that. Diggs, besides being a huge diva over there in Buffalo, who knows? He's still completely elite. So I'm going to bump those guys up a little bit.
All right, Connor, anyone you want to talk about? 'Cause I have
First
a
of
couple more
all,
after this.
okay, don't. This is like you saying, "Hey, by the way, it's a school zone here. We're gonna play by these rules," and then you just totally go 60 in a school zone with, "Oh, well, this is like a really good like wide receiver core," and then like you don't take in the fact that they have Kenny Pickett. But other times you're like, "Hey, like Justin Herbert, though." Okay, so you don't get to pick and choose which school zone is I have to
I
abide
use it as a tiebreaker. So, for
Fine,
example, I think
whatever.
Pittsburgh might be a tier up. I think Tampa Bay might be a tier up, but their quarterback and everything holds them back, so they get pushed
Fine,
down.
but then you look at Jerry Judy, Cortland Sutton, and Tim Patrick, and those are some pretty solid options there. They had a dingus brain at the offensive coordinator and the head coach last year. So, I mean, looking at it purely based off of, they still got a pretty darn good guy in Russell Wilson. Jerry Judy had a semi breakout, had a tough time staying healthy. Cortland Sutton, I think, is better. I think he bounces back this year. And Tim Patrick is just, I mean, those are Tim Patrick. If you put Tim Patrick in Las Vegas, that offense becomes and swapped out Jacoby Myers and Tim Patrick. Man, that's a good trade. That's a pretty good offense for both. That's a pretty good swap for both of them. So I'm much more in on Denver than other people are.
So,
Sean
all
Payton,
right. So,
Sean
with
Payton,
that, with that, you have Pittsburgh versus Denver. Who do you think? Like when you look at those 8 receiving
Denver.
options. No, just listen. Who do you think is the most likely to be an A minus? I would say Jerry Judy, but then I would say George Pickens and Deontay Johnson are the next 2. I'm pretty low on Cortland Sutton.
Who has the best chance to be an A minus?
Yeah. Who's the next guy to jump up
Yeah,
their letter grade in my?
It's
I think it's Jerry Judy, but then I think the next
Deontay.
2 are on Pittsburgh, so I think it's close. Again,
George
in a
Pickens
tier,
has all the talent in the world, but is a head case. He's the
Yeah.
next Chase Claypool.
that's sad. Oh man. But anyways, like I said, in tiers you can flip the order. I don't care. But so I'm not picking and choosing there. Anyways,
Chase Claypool is about to get cut by the Bears, by the way.
is he really?
They
They
said he
traded
was
almost a
lazy.
first rounder for him.
They said he
Wow.
was lazy in his offseason workouts. He's behind schedule. He's not giving any effort in his OTAs. So,
He learned from
Bye.
Antonio Brown.
bye.
All right. So that actually brings me to Chicago. It's just a team I love. Give me DJ Moore. I have him as an A. I think he's underrated. He's a guy who has shown out with terrible quarterback play. I like Darnell Mooney as a good 2, and Cole Kmet I think will shine more as a tight end. Now I have Darnell Mooney marked as a B- because he was just so unsuccessful last year when we had higher hopes. But I think Chicago could be one of the surprise receiving cores. That's of course assuming Justin Fields doesn't look like hot trash with them, and he can hit them in space.
He didn't even have to. Seriously, get him out of the pocket and just have him play backyard football. He'll be fine.
But do you think Justin Fields and DJ Moore might be the best quarterback DJ Moore has had? And I know that statement's used a lot, but I truly think it could matter here.
Yeah. I mean, they said that about DJ Moore last year when Baker went there, and they were like, "Oh, Baker's going to be the best he's
Yeah,
ever
but then
had."
everyone realized Baker sucked, like someone had been saying on the show for years.
That's fair. That's fair.
All right. Any last takes on this? Tier 5. No one mentioned the Chiefs, which is I think Kadarius Toney could explode and be a level receiver, but that's it.
They would be much lower if Travis Kelce wasn't on that team.
Yep.
Like
The only thing
bottom
you have
bottom
is Travis Kelce.
barrel.
You guys don't dish Kadarius Toney. I'm gonna be having him on every fantasy team and watching him blow up.
He's a
until
best
his
ball
knee.
player. He's a best ball player.
Yeah.
I think.
And I would say until his knee falls off.
But look at like I think I saw a stat in fantasy like look at the best wide receiver 2, aka outside of Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce. What's like the best? Juju was the best finish, and he was like 22 last year in fantasy. Like, man,
Underwhelming.
Kadarius Toney's gonna be 22, and he's supposed to be in your elite tier. Ruh-roh.
I said I could see him jumping if he truly takes a Tyreek Hill role. He'll be a B+ by the end of the year, in my opinion. Anyways, so let's go Cleveland and the Jets. these are ones I'm excited for because I believe the Jets, despite having Garrett Wilson, who I think is a legitimate future star, their receiving core is terrible in my opinion. Alan Lazard, I don't think is good. He's a
Dude,
giant tight end.
you didn't even put Corey Davis on here. Clown.
I thought he got
Is he
cut.
still on the team?
No, they asked him to take a pay cut today.
Oh, okay. So he will be off the team soon. But like, Alan Lazard isn't good. McCole Hardman is a worse version of MVS. How do I know? Because they were on the same team last year, and MVS did a better job at him than him at his job, which was running deep. Tyler Conklin, I don't think is very good. I see the Jets as a run-first team with Garrett Wilson potentially getting 1,300 yards, and that is it. That is all I see.
I don't know why I didn't put. This should be Cleveland should be like 17, 16 even.
So I'm penalizing them because I'm pricing them at the Elijah Moore and David Njoku floor.
Yeah, but I'm a big Elijah Moore
because they
guy,
have neither of them have proven to be good statistical outputs.
Stop it. Elijah Moore, the last 10 games of his rookie year was like wide receiver 3.
Okay, so my point is across the course of a year, his yards per target.
How many good games has Jamison Williams had, Mr. Detroit Lions?
If Amon-Ra St. Brown was next to him, it'd be a different story.
Stop. That's what I'm saying. You guys in your school zones. I'm over here going the speed limit for like 35 miles an hour, and then you throw in a school zone, and you're like, well, technically the speed limit is 20. It's during school hours. That's my analogy for the whole time for the rest of you guys.
You just keep talking about speeding in cars, man. I don't know. I'm not following. I'm just going.
You are
65.
definitely following. You're smarter than that, doctor.
I gotta tell you,
all right.
I think Garrett Wilson, I really wanted to come on here and say, listen, Garrett Wilson, he's in that list of people I'm going to jump on in fantasy, can make that jump to that, near elite level. And I was like, man, and every other option is just so bad. Oh, we forgot about Randall Cobb. Sorry. But
it's funny when everyone complains about how bad the Green Bay receiving room is, and then you get everyone except Devontae Adams, and you're like, oh, yeah, this room sucks again. I wonder why.
But like, dude, I wanted to like them more.
Too.
But
so, I was gonna say. So, go ahead, Ken.
I don't know. In terms of the Browns, like, I like Amari Cooper, but if he's your one option, I just can't put him into the next tier. I just can't. Like,
dude,
Jones.
He was great for the Cowboys before they drafted CD. He was great.
Dude, someone on the show had him to lead the league in receiving yards at 40-1 because they know what they're talking about.
Yes, the fact that he's at 40-1 is all you need to hear. I like Amari Cooper. I just can't put him into the next level up.
Yeah.
Now,
so
when we get DeAndre Hopkins, there'll be a whole different conversation.
Yeah, there's a lot of teams I could see shooting up to like the Raiders tier.
Dude, I do not understand why. I will be so upset if the Titans get DeAndre Hopkins because I agree so many
much.
Traylon Burks shares.
So many of these teams, like if he goes to like Buffalo, I don't think he's going to Buffalo. I honestly have no idea where DeAndre Hopkins is going, but like
if he's smart, he goes to Carolina. They said that they were potentially interested.
I think he's just going to go wherever he can get a paycheck, man. Like
that just makes me
whoever
so
pays him the most.
Oh, by the way, he's not going to
end up in New England.
Either. I'm pissed because he's not going to the Patriots now too. They just gave Devontae
Parker.
Wasn't Devontae? Darn it, who's the guy who played for Miami?
Devontae Parker.
Sorry, I didn't hear. Yeah, Parker. You're right, Ken. Devontae Parker just got a $30 million deal with $15 million guaranteed. Did you guys see that today?
No.
So he's clearly not going to. He's clearly not going to the Patriots, and that would have been the best landing spot for him. So that makes me think he actually is going to the Titans, and I'm going to be very upset.
All right. So with that, we are past the top 21 teams. These next, 13? I have very little passion for my picks.
New Orleans.
Actually, no, these next.
Hot take.
These
Boom,
next. I was gonna say these next 3 I like. I want to talk about actually, and then the last, whatever that is, 9 is useless. What do you guys think about Baltimore, real quick? They've done a lot to rebuild this receiving core, but I don't think any of it is going to be good.
Paper champions looks decent on paper with these names, but I don't think any of them have much besides Mark Andrews. I don't care too
Their
much.
offense will be if they run the air raid with Todd Monken, they'll be fine purely based off of volume, but nothing special.
Do you think the Ravens will be fine, or these guys' stats will be fine?
Ravens will be fine. Best one here is Zay Flowers. He's a pure, great route runner. Separates well.
You don't like Bateman? I personally like Bateman. I think he's a good receiver.
Hurt all the time. Plantar fasciitis is a problem.
Okay. I'll give you hurt all the time. That can
Liz
be
Liz Frank, which is a real problem.
No,
Ken, tell us about Liz Frank. Tell us about Aunt Liz.
Who is this lovely lady?
Yeah,
Liz Frank is the most annoying injury you'll ever hear about for a receiver. So much pressure on the feet, and it just takes so long to go away. The fact that Rashad Bateman had screws placed, they plantar fasciitis, and I was like, I don't believe that. Probably more for the Liz Frank. But he had a cortisone shot. He just got a cortisone shot and is out now until essentially practices begin. And I was like, dude, that's not a good start for these foot injuries. The quickest way back is surgery and then rest. That's just it. The people that try to play through them, it just is more progressive. There's just so much pressure going onto the midfoot of these wide receivers, these sprinter positions, and these are awful lingering injuries. So his chance of re-injury is decent, and is not being up to speed is pretty high.
That's disappointing because he's the part that I liked the most outside of Mark Andrews. All right, so next up, Atlanta. I just feel so bad for Drake London and Kyle Pitts. Always have to emphasize this. I wish I could pour some out, but I have carpet, not flowing.
Dude, Arthur Smith sucks. I hate him.
However, Bijan Robinson, legitimate first-round fantasy running back because of it.
So, Connor, before you jumped on, I was telling Phil I was listening to something that they were looking at RPO offenses and how they distribute targets. And obviously RPO, you only have essentially 2 receiving options in a traditional drop back. And so because of that, the highest 2 are just obviously heavily targeted because it's running back, quarterback run, or 2 receiving options. With that being said, Desmond Ridder, Bijan Robinson, and then Kyle Pitts and Drake London fit perfectly into this. You have the playmakers where you want them to be, but then the issue is you have Desmond Ridder there. I
was about to say, Ken, you said this is perfect. You said Desmond Ridder and perfect. That doesn't make sense.
Around the quarterback, I meant. But
yes.
They're
wanted
drafting
to put
Caleb Williams. Wait for this is a long game. Drafting Caleb Williams this year. Can't wait. Love it.
And then Arthur Smith better be fired, and they better get a better schemer.
Drake May, Caleb Williams, take your pick. 1-2 next year, because Arizona's going to cut everybody and then go get Caleb Williams probably.
Okay, and then lastly, you guys actually both sounded hyped about New Orleans. So I put them here despite them having good grades, mostly because Michael Thomas, I feel like, is going to be hurt again.
No, wait. Michael Thomas posted a picture of him deadlifting with a trap bar 2 days ago. Put a video out there, so he's probably going to be an all-star again. That's what that means. That's what
he was an all-star for 1 game last year. I think he had 11 targets, 10 catches, and 100 yards.
He was healthy. He averaged 20 fantasy points a game.
Yeah, for that game and a half. Anyways, Ken, New Orleans.
Just so you guys know, this is the first time Michael Thomas is actually healthy at this point of the year. Yes, I think he sat out 1 practice and people flipped out, but
he wasn't even allowed to practice for OTAs though. That's the scary part too. He didn't practice. He hasn't practiced for this offseason yet.
You just told me he was deadlifting 1,000,000 pounds. I mean,
listen, that's fine, but he sat out of OTAs. He deadlifted 275, but what he did was what wide receivers do is he put like one like 35 on or 45 on each side, and then he put like 4 25s. And I'm like, dude, everybody can pause that and count the weight, you idiot. But yeah.
Did you guys see? There is my friend Zach sent it to me. It was a guy making fun of Ben Simmons' Instagram who posted like 2 workout pictures, but the 2 pictures prove that he photoshopped them. Like he posted them
Really?
back to back. He's like, yeah. He's like, yeah, if you look at this one and then this one, you can see the Photoshop difference. Like he inflated his calves. Why would you do that?
Of all things.
Yeah.
Guys,
And
can
then
we
his
not talk
shoulders,
about Ben
obviously, and
Simmons?
stuff too. Oh man.
No. But I like Chris Olave. Michael Thomas just has to kind of be out there. I don't know. I just liked him a little more than the rest of the people in this group. He's one of those Buckeyes that I loved, Connor. And yes, I did. I love him, Garrett Wilson, and Jameson Williams. You got me.
Dude, but again, Chris Olave had fantastic stats, like but unbelievable stats, like the stuff that like the groups that he's in terms of like ADOT, air yards, efficiency rating, press versus man win rate is like up there in the top 5 to 10 tier. Him and Michael Pittman are very underrated. Very underrated.
Well, I was about to say, so I don't care about these last 9 teams. I don't know, 7 teams.
Daubs is supposedly camp chatter right now is Daubs is actually seeing more of the ball than Watson is.
Well, he should, because Watson should touch the ball 3 times a game, and you should hope one goes 75 yards for a touchdown. Like that's a skill set. I'm bigger and fast. But anyways, This is all these teams. I think they are very disappointing. You would not want, like, you need to draft a receiver.
Hey, by the way, I don't know if you guys heard this too. Skipping all the way around for my last hot take. Paris Campbell supposedly is showing out for the Giants. Old Paris Campbell, another Buckeye.
You know,
hear
when
that?
he's out there,
do you know what that news is? Do you know what that news is? That news is saying, hey, guys, we gave Daniel Jones a lot of money, and we promise it's going to work because we're not going to play Saquon, and he's not showing up.
I haven't heard anything else from that situation, by the way.
So, all right. I will post a picture for everyone to see of our rankings. I'm just going to turn that off. Any last takes on this, guys?
Carolina needs to go get DeAndre Hopkins right now.
Do you believe in them to make the playoffs, or are you saying that because they got to see what Bryce Young has?
Oh, they got to give him. This is the problem with like, somebody who's a Trevor Lawrence or Justin Fields. Justin Fields has been in the league for 3 years, guys. His first year was basically a pass. Same with Trevor Lawrence, got a pass. And then now they have completely delayed their franchise for 2 or 3 years. Luckily, Trevor Lawrence hit with Doug Peterson. You're going to just delay your franchise and your development if you don't give anybody options. Same thing with CJ Stroud. That is just an awful situation to walk into. Awful. Brock Purdy went to the 49ers, and you give him Kyle Shanahan, and he's great. You gave these guys, like Ken and I could walk out there and be the number 4 on their team.
Suck it, Phil.
Oh, man.
So CJ Stroud will never play with better receivers than he did in any of his years at Ohio State. And it's not even close.
So go out and get some wide receivers that are good, established.
No, dude, they got Will Anderson for like 3 first-round picks.
Dude, so I saw this like this was like it was a video of the draft room of the 49ers when they did this trade. They did the draft day trade, and they were filming the GM for the Cardinals. And if I remember right, he said, give me a first, this year's first, and a first next year. He did not specify which first he would take for Will Anderson. And the Texans chose their better first one unsolicited. And he was like, this is like a bad trade in fantasy. He was like, yep, we'll do it. Bad.
So one time Sarah and I were mattress shopping, and I was trying to haggle the price because we were going to buy a used mattress. I was going to be like, dude, can we get a better discount? You're offering like
Time out,
50
Ken.
bucks.
Did you just make that face? Did
don't
you
buy
just
a
make
used
that face
mattress.
because I would have made that face too? Which stop right there.
So
You just said the words. I'm going to buy a used
Dude,
mattress.
That's
Okay, sorry, it's
cringe,
correction.
man. Oh, that's
correction.
cringeworthy.
It wasn't used. It was like slightly damaged in shipping. So
Dude.
it was like a messed up package. So we bought it.
You're you honestly might be like, I'm not going to state any of our salaries or anything like that, but for the love of donuts, there's not a single person right here that is ever needing to buy a damaged or a used mattress for the rest of their life. Ken, would you
First
agree?
off, used mattress is the most disgusting thing I've ever heard.
I'm sorry,
of.
used was the wrong word. It was truly just like a damaged in shipping.
Fine. Ken, fill in whatever you want here, Phil. But Ken, help me out here.
Phil, you stay 8 hours on that thing per night. Just get a good one.
It is a phenomenal mattress. It was a discount for a really good mattress. That's why we got it.
Yeah, and that spring just gets you in the eye every once in a while. Don't
Yeah,
do it.
Fine.
Oh, by the
That's
way,
on my side of the bed.
yeah, I mean, whatever. It's probably like the package was open, had bacteria on it. I don't know. It might even, dude. You might have.
Don't
to
worry, I
wash
peed on
yourself
it to
every
mark my
time.
territory.
It's cool. I gotta wear a hazmat suit to bed every once in a while. It's fine though.
Dude,
The bugs don't bother me much anymore.
Anything that gets in there soaks in. Like you cannot clean a mattress well.
I just have this.
Dude,
I just have this view of like Beetlejuice popping out like of the bed, and Ken just like, or Phil looking like the Beetlejuice guy. Like,
All right, so that's enough. I'm not going to talk about how we didn't haggle because Sarah like almost cried when I tried to negotiate a price.
Phil, for the love of, I
You're,
can't.
no,
even
you should just. You should go.
just don't tell us about this mattress endeavor ever again, because like you're just gonna dig yourself a hole.
Oh my god.
Dude,
That's a whole new level of cheapness that I can't even. That's
Put this
awful.
first. Put this first. This section first, and then have everyone just roast the dog crap out of you.
Are you trying to get our Detroit fans back or something?
Yeah, listen. Tag all of the
Do
Detroit.
you know
people
what?
and say,
The Detroit dog fans would be on my side. You know they would. You know.
only because they don't know like that we're successful professionals. That's the only reason. Otherwise, if they knew, they'd be like, "What are you doing?" In fact, go look up Phil Call on LinkedIn, everyone. Please tell me. And then this will have
actually, my
context.
LinkedIn isn't updated. It still says I'm an actuarial trainee.
Oh.
I don't know where I was gonna take that.
Doesn't matter, Phil. You ruined it with used
Phil.
mattress. So we're moving
Oh
on.
my god.
Oh,
Thank you,
I was gonna talk.
everyone.
Yeah, goodbye.
Listen,
Apparently, I'm stupid.
This is a cool shirt. We're just gonna keep talking about this. Anything other than fantasy football or real football right now because Phil ruined it.
I'm just